Hey guys, this is Tirelis here with another Warlords of Draenor beta video looking at combat rogues this time around. I'm going to be taking a look at the combat rogues, their changed abilities, their new glyphs, their new Draenor perks, and then their changed, removed, and new talents. Now, combat rogues, like the other rogue specs, really do not have many specific changes. They have just one, and then their other major changes come directly from the class as a whole. The first of these is going to be combo points and how they work. Right now I can build up combo points on this target, and then if I want, I can switch over to the far left target and use them. I can build up combo points on this target, build them up on this target, and then burn them on the third target. Basically, combo points are now attached to the player as opposed to the target. Huge quality of life change for rogues, something I think that they will enjoy a lot. I know a lot of rogues have been clamoring for this for a long time, and now it is here. So, the second major change to pretty much all rogues in general are the consolidation of abilities. There are a lot of passives that were built into abilities, and then they just decided to bake them into the abilities themselves. This is something that has happened across rogue spec as a whole. So they've just, kind of eliminated that. They've eliminated spellbook bloat. It wasn't necessarily button bloat, but it was spellbook bloat. And so if you look from now on, if you look in your spellbook, you may need to look in a different place to find stuff. But overall, your playstyle is not going to change that much. The major change that came to combat rogues in particular is how Revealing Strike works with Bandit's Guile. Now, Bandit's Guile was your ability where you take advantage of the natural ebb and flow of combat, causing your Sinister Strike to gradually increase your damage by up to 30%. Now, the problem before is that both of your abilities that you use to generate combo points in Sinister Strike and Revealing Strike both advanced Bandit's Guile. Well, now Revealing Strike will no longer advance Bandit's Guile, and Revealing Strike had its damage increased to compensate for it. As you can see, it's now much closer to what Sinister Strike's damage is. So, the reason why this was done is so that combat rogues can take advantage of Bandit's Guile and slow down the Bandit's Guile, cycle using Revealing Strike so that they can, use that maximum 30% damage to burst for some reason. It's mostly, from what I have seen, a PvP change that is coming to combat rogues. So, just a change with Revealing Strike. They've upped its damage, and they removed its ability to affect Bandit's Guile so that you can use Revealing Strike to slow down Bandit's Guile. It doesn't actually slow it down, but it slows it down in the fact that it no longer advances Bandit's Guile. So that is a major change to combat rogues, and that is, kind of a big gameplay change that I think will affect a lot of stuff, and we'll see, how it plays out. Looking into other changed abilities that rogues got, or combat rogues got, Smoke Bomb no longer has a 20% reduction damage. It is now down to 10%, so nerf there. Swiftblade's Cunning used to increase haste by 10%, it now increases it only by 5%. But it increases haste and multi-strike chance. Multi-strike chance is like your Elemental Shaman or Marksmanship Hunter, Old Mastery, where you got that extra kind of lower damage replica of the spell you just cast or ability you just cast. Now it's a stat, everyone has it, and so Swiftblade Cunning is the passive raid buff that you can bring that will increase it. So that's a nice little buff. A quality of life improvement has been brought to Ambush, and that Ambush no longer requires a rogue to be behind the target, so that's something you're not going to have to worry about. The next change was to Ruthlessness, in which for each combo point your finishing moves reduce the cooldown of your Adrenaline Rush killing spree and sprint by 2 seconds, and have a 20% chance to grant combo points and restore 25 energy. So basically, they baked in Restless Blades into Ruthlessness, and then I believe the old passive Relentless Strikes has just been removed from combat. Overall, you shouldn't notice any changes, just consolidation. That brings us to the removed abilities for a combat rogue. They lost Disarm Trap, which is a nerf, obviously in PvP, but it's not as bad as you may think. Hunter Traps now activate instantaneously, so your uses for Disarm Trap have been now limited to very specific situations. I understand that if you are trying to, sneak up on a hunter and, sap him or whatever, or CC him and disarm his trap on the flag, you're no longer going to be able to do that. But for the most part, the way hunter traps work now, it's definitely more of a specific situation in which you're going to be able to use disarm trap, in which you would have been able to use disarm trap. Excuse me. Dismantle has been removed from the game. Pretty much all disarms have been removed from the game, just like blanket silences. Weapon chains have been removed. Blizzard's just cutting out that section of CC from the game. Honestly, I think it's just going to do nothing but make PvP better overall. Mind-numbing poison has been removed from the game to counteract the fact that casters now really can't move, like run and cast at the same time anymore. Mind-numbing poison has gotten the nerf. The axe, and other abilities like that have also gotten an arcane mage's slow can no longer reduce their cast, increase their cast time, etc. So it's just been removed from the game. Redirect has been removed from the game, but that doesn't matter anymore because your combat points are now on your player and not your target. Shadow Blades was removed from the game. I do not understand why they did this. There's no really big explanation as to why Shadow Blades was removed. It's just been removed. That's all I can tell you. Shadow Walk, which increased your stealth effectiveness for 6 seconds, has been removed from the game. Ambidexterity, which increased the damage you deal with your offhand weapon by 75%, has been removed. Now this was an important change by Blizzard because they wanted to reduce the amount of passive damage that rogues were doing, just passive auto attack damage, and they took all that damage and then baked it into their abilities. So definitely you should feel more rewarding actually using your abilities instead of the auto attack abilities that you were using earlier. So that's definitely, I personally think, a nice buff to the class. Now another change is going to be another removal is Rupture. Rupture has been removed from combat rogues, which means it's no longer a part of the PvE rotation. I believe this was done so that the really good combat rogues will start learning how to take control of Bandit's Guile and use it effectively with the changes to Revealing Strike. We'll see how it plays out. Raid testing just began, but I believe that's why that Rupture was removed from the combat spec. The last change is that Fan of Knives is now gone from combat. I can't say I missed it, but because I get annoyed by people spamming Fan of Knives, but I'm sure the other two specs will be happy to spam it in place of combat rogues. Instead, you will get you're going to be using Blade Fury. Blade Fury now applies your poisons, and it actually, I believe, got a new spell visual, so we can go ahead and take a look here. You can see the spell visual around it that popped up when we used it. So it's got a nice little change to the spell visual. Pretty nice. I like it anyways. So that is a change that has been brought to the combat class to make a little bit difference in how you do your AoE damage. That leaves us with the glyphs, the new glyphs for the class, or the spec, excuse me. Combat has 4 new glyphs, starting with, let's see, Glyph of Elusiveness, Glyph of Disappearance, which reduces the cooldown on Vanish by 60%, but Vanish's duration ends. But when Vanish's duration ends, Stealth is no longer automatically activated. I personally really like this. I don't use a rogue in PvP, so I'm not as knowledgeable about this, but having a minute-long Vanish is actually pretty awesome. And all you have to do is, actively put yourself into stealth as opposed to it passively doing it for you. I think that's a fair trade-off. I definitely think there will be a lot of people taking this. I personally would take this. So that's one of the new glyphs. Another new glyph is Glyph of Elusiveness, which reduces the cooldown of evasion by 30 seconds. If you'll notice, it says exclusive with Glyph of Evasion and Glyph of Energy Flows. Same thing with Glyph of Disappearance. It added exclusivity with Glyph of Vanish. That basically means that you can only use one of those glyphs, active glyphs, at a time. You cannot have all three of those active: Glyph of Evasion, Glyph of Energy Flows, or Glyph of Elusiveness. You can't even have two of them active. You can only have one of them active at a time. So speaking of those other glyphs, there's Glyph of Energy Flows, which each time you dodge while evasion is active, you gain 10 energy. And then lastly, there is Glyph of Energy, which increases your maximum energy by 20. I love having more energy on my class. Anytime I'm with an energy class or a focus-based class, I wish I could just have more energy and focus, just so I wouldn't have to deal with it. But there's nothing wrong with having more energy on your class, so definitely an advantage there. It gives you more, I guess, room to burst, so to say. The Draenor perks for combat aren't, half bad. Definitely, I think, got the better end of the deal compared to other classes and other specs. They have Empowered Bandit's Guile. Bandit's Guile grants an additional 20% damage increase while in Deep Insight, so I believe that's at the very top of Bandit's Guile. Empowered Crimson Tempest increases the duration of Crimson Tempest's bleed by 50%. So that's your AoE combat combo point spender, excuse me. Enhanced Adrenaline Rush. While Adrenaline Rush is active, the global cooldown of Sinister Strike, Revealing Strike, Eviscerate, Slice and Dice, and Rupture is reduced by an additional 0.3 seconds. Notice it says Rupture there. Trust me, Rupture has been removed from the class. I can even go here and show you. You do not see Rupture anywhere in my bars. Sinister Strike, Shroud of Concealment, all the way up here is just a tooltip error that has not been fixed yet. Enhanced Blade Fury is that Blade Fury no longer has a target cap. It can be used on anything. Improved Dual Wield. You no longer have a penalty to hitting with your auto attacks due to dual wielding. Improved Eviscerate increases the damage done by Eviscerate by 20%. Boring. Improved Recuperate increases the healing by Recuperate by 20%. Another boring one. And then Improved Sinister Strike increases the damage done by Sinister Strike and Revealing Strike by 20%. Also boring. It's unfortunate that they have so many, just straight damage buffs. Assassination really got the great draw and literally had stuff that continually changed their class and so forth. But those are the perks that come with the combat rogues, which leads us into their talents. They have, first off, we should look at the level 15 tier and Subterfuge. It says your abilities requiring stealth can still be used for 3 seconds after stealth breaks. Basically, it's like a small shadow dance. You're no longer going to be able to sit there and stealth and do damage for X amount of time. It's now you are going to break, the minute you do damage, you're going to break stealth, but you'll still be able to use stealth abilities. So you're going to be able to be CC'd. It's a nerf. Blizzard mentioned specifically that it was too powerful and that's why it was taken down. 75, you'll notice that we are missing Paralytic Poison. Passive stuns in the game is something that Blizzard has been removing for a while. I don't know why they kept Paralytic Poison in the game, to be honest, or even added it to the game, but it was there, and so now it's gone. It's been removed, and it's been replaced with Eternal Bleeding, which is your kidney shot. Also causes your target to bleed for 8,000 damage per combo point over 12 seconds. So that leaves us with the level 100 talents. There is Venom Zest, which increases your maximum energy by 15, and your energy regeneration rate by 5% for every enemy you have poisoned up to 3. I don't know how popular this will be with combat rogues. I'm not familiar with it, but passive increased energy is always good, so we'll see how it goes. Raid testing just began, so I'm not quite sure what is the favored talent. Death from Above is a talent that I personally like because it is the most important part is actually not the damage portion. It's a finishing move that consumes combo points on the target to empower your weapons with shadow energy and perform a devastating two-part attack. You whirl around, dealing up to 4,200 damage to all enemies within 8 yards, then leap into the air and eviscerate your target on the way back down with such force that it deals an additional 50% damage. Great and all, but in all honesty, the best part is that it's a 15-yard range. So I can sit here, and if I lose, let's say I lose, I get a little bit too far away from my target, I can be back 15 yards and be able to catch up to them with that ability. I think that is the most important part of that ability, is the fact that you're able to use it as a mini gap closer to catch up to the enemy. So the last talent here is Shadow Reflection, and excuse me, you have to wait until Death from Above is off cooldown, and that is you summon a shadow yourself on the target that will watch you and memorize your offensive ability for 8 seconds. After this time, it will mimic the memorized abilities on its target over the next 8 seconds. This is something that I think several skilled PvPers may take instead of Death from Above, and that is the fact that you can line up burst together. So you go in on a target and you have, you know, I'm going to pop my shadow person here, and I'll be able to go through a burst phase and attack, and then I can line up another burst phase for when my target is attacking. And so by lining up those two burst phases together, you can do, you know, a larger burst phase. So I think it's something, if used correctly, will be a popular talent with PvP rogues. PvE, I'm not so sure. It's a 2-minute cooldown, and it's basically just a mimic ability. I think it's possible that Venom Zest will be more useful to them than Shadow Reflection. I don't know, we'll have to see. But otherwise, that's everything dealing with combat rogues. The next video will be on sub-rogues, and that'll be the last of the rogue videos, and then I will see what I get into next. Otherwise, this has been another rogue video. I will see you guys later. Tirelis out.